Spike Lee has been capturing shots like this for years, and it's a really visually compelling technique that he uses at key points in his story. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about how I achieved this look, some other lower budget options that could achieve the same look, and why it's important to have a visual motif for your shoot, regardless of the client you're working with. So this look inherently gives, it lends itself to a lot of visual interest because our character is like floating through the environment and it's kind of surreal. It creates this like elevated reality. And honestly, it can be applied to a lot of different industries. So for the commercial I worked on, we basically concepted out the whole video around this one movement where our lawyers are moving through the space and they're just floating as business and things are happening behind them. People are walking through the environment. It's a very simple shoot at a glance, but the key is having the ability to create the mechanism that moves our characters through the scene. And this is essentially creating a visual motif. And I think that's the most important part of a video like this. It's honestly the biggest thing that's going to level up your solo or low budget filmmaking. But we'll get into that in a second because I want to break down how we actually achieve this. Me and a couple guys I brought onto the shoot built out this kind of crazy looking rig. And this rig is based around my innovative 48-inch film cart. So it's a heavy duty cart. It's meant to hold a lot of gear. And I figured, well, it's probably going to be able to hold our talent as well. So we built out basically something that would sit away from the cart itself and could hold our camera. That was the first piece. Then I added the main section of a C-stand to hold our Amaran 300C with a little softbox on it. And from there, I had to actually add a power supply to it because we're gonna be moving up and down this hallway the whole time. So I actually purchased a Blue Yeti like power bank. And so I was able to put that on the front of the cart, and that basically served as a little bit of a counterweight as well for our talent. Then we put a chair from the law office in the back part of the cart. We actually were able to fashion up a little bit of a handrail so that it felt a little bit safer for the talent sitting in the seat. And I even added an Elgato teleprompter onto the front of my camera, which just allowed for the talent to be able to read through the handful of scripts we were actually going to be recording that day. So all these things put together were in a pretty good place, but you may be asking yourself, okay, what about audio? So this is where we just basically took a very long magic arm and ran our shotgun mic to the talent. And then my audio guy was connected to his shotgun mic with an XLR. And then he was just like walking behind me, keeping his cables out from the wheels. Pretty simple solution. If you had something like the Comica VM40, the little wireless shotgun mic, then you could ideally avoid the whole cable situation. I guess you could also lav them up. But regardless, this is what we had, so this is what we did. The way the shoot worked is we would just count down and I would just pull the talent through the hallway. And at a glance, this is a great solution for this type of shoot. It allowed us to move seamlessly and slowly through the hallway. I did end up trading out with one of my guys occasionally just because, just pulling a cart with all that weight on it between the talent and all the gear we had on it just got really heavy throughout the day. So I just had to trade out, honestly. I'm not buff like that. Shoots like this, I think, are stretching the limits of what's possible for low budget, like semi-solo filmmakers. I think you see something like Spike Lee, one of the greatest filmmakers of our time, doing a shot like this. In your mind, it's like, oh, well, we just put him on a little cart and roll him down a hallway and it'll be great. But there's a ton of planning and preparation and a lot of things that people are doing on set that you never see. And I've been on larger sets before, so I understand the level that goes into shots like that. But I think for this one, I was just a little bit naive, I guess. But I'll say this, there are a lot of cheaper ways that you could actually do this. For starters, you don't need to use the innovative cart. Yes, it's easier, but you could combine one of the larger, just kind of like rock and roller carts with some plywood and other things like that. You could probably achieve a similar result. You could also look into furniture dollies or different things like that. I think if you were to go to Home Depot and just look for things that roll, you're gonna find some stuff. What's funny is the guy I'm working with on these projects, his name's Chris, and the girl that works with him is named Grace. They're an incredible team. The three of us work together to come up with the ideas for these projects, but he actually has done this previously with just like a little, I guess, like package cart. and they were able to strap a strap to the videographer that was working with them at the time. And that guy just walked backwards holding his camera, and that allowed them to achieve a similar look. So there's lots of different levels and ways to do this. I think the way that we did it is not the cleanest, but definitely the easiest way to do it if you have a decently sized cart. There's definitely cheaper ways. When it comes to this shoot, there are a couple of things that I would do better. And one big thing is within the lighting. So we have the lighting on our main characters, and that lighting is decent, okay? It's close enough to them. It's a small softbox, but it's close enough that it feels soft. But what I think I would have changed is through all this hallway, it seems a little bland. And so I think I would have preferred, if we had had time, I would have preferred to add in shafts of light coming through like one of the sides all through the hallway. That would just give us kind of a really unique look. And as we're going through, it feels like it's kind of golden hour with the sunlight coming in. And I don't know, just looking back on it now, I think that if we were given the time, I think that would have been totally worth it to do. The trick with this shoot is that we weren't just shooting this concept on this day. We actually had a whole nother concept I'm gonna make a video about called Make the Right Call. And it was a whole office phone setup situation. So we shot this first concept in the morning and then used the afternoon to shoot the phone concept. So we just didn't have time to set up a ton of lights. Actually, my team was setting up the lights for the phone concept while I was finalizing the setup for this kind of Spike Lee-esque shot. But I've made you wait long enough because I think we need to talk about visual motifs. And this is going to be a common theme that you're going to start to see with all the shoots that I do, and really all the shoots that anyone does, okay? Because a visual motif kind of just gives your film or your commercial or whatever you're shooting a bit of a artistic grounding. Like, I don't know if that's the right word, but it gives it some creative direction. I think that's what I'm trying to say. When your shoot has creative direction, suddenly it has more value and suddenly it's more captivating. And I think if you were to just take what our characters are saying and you were to just put them in different rooms in their offices, let's say that, this shoot doesn't hit the same way. It doesn't have the same value. It doesn't look as cool. It's not as visually interesting because it doesn't really have any creative direction. So I think as solo budget filmmakers even, I think it's really important for us to think through some visual motifs that we can begin to add into our shoots. Example of a visual motif could be the Spike Lee thing, but it could also be shooting all with super wide angle lenses. It could be the little clone effect where you add multiple people into one frame, and you could do that off and on throughout the shoot. There's tons of different ideas. An easy way and a free way to figure out a bunch of different visual motifs would be to go to iCandy and just look through all the categories that they have. Like, they have so much there that you can look into. But if you just don't want to do the work yourself, I don't blame you. I actually made a guide of my favorite visual motifs that I'm actively using right now. So that's linked in the description below, totally free. So feel free to check that out. This visual motif is the #1 way to elevate your shoots. Think of a corporate interview, right? What kind of visual motif could you add to a corporate interview that would actually make it interesting? The Spike Lee thing, I think, is a perfect example, but I think there are a handful of other ones. Like, instead of having a person sitting down talking to camera about something kind of generic, maybe have them standing up, maybe give them a unique camera angle or a unique camera lens. It could even be as simple as like the color grade that you do. Like, just give it a filmic color grade or something like that. Give it a classic VHS color grade. I've even seen people make commercials, and because their product has a little bit of a nostalgic feel, they make the whole commercial look as if it's shot on a VHS. That's a visual motif, and it's a technique that you can use to set your idea apart. Let's take my headphones. These are what are these? The Beyerdynamics DT770 Pro. I like them because they got the cushy little ear cups, okay? So let's say that is what I want to communicate. I want to talk about how comfortable these headphones are to wear. So what I might start with is thinking through some product shots of the headphones, but then I could actually play around with the cushiness of it, like the pillowiness of the ear cups. Like, maybe that's the selling feature. It's not the only selling feature, but to me it is. Maybe the background that I shoot all my product shots on looks really cozy. Maybe it's the same material as these little ear cups. Maybe the whole thing is placed in a really cozy setting. Everyone listening to these is like dressed cozy. They've got lots of like pillowy clothes on. It's like like this material is like overtaking the shoot. That could be a visual motif. It could be a whole element of creative direction that you use to tell the story of these headphones. Let's say you don't want to highlight that. You want to highlight the fact that, I mean, these aren't Bluetooth, but maybe you have a Bluetooth version of these. You want to highlight the fact that there's no cable, okay? You could do a mounted camera shot on the side of these, and you could shoot a handful of shots with the wired version and then switch your camera to the Bluetooth version and shoot the same shots. So then that would allow you in editing to match cut between the different shots without the cable. You could even just like do a cool transition where the cable just disappears, but it's going to open you up to be able to highlight that key feature that you want to talk about. I think the visual motif thing is something that took me a really long time to learn with my own filmmaking, but it's why I'm spending so much time talking to you about it in this video, because it's like, it will change your filmmaking. And to be honest, I think it will help you start to make videos, commercials, films that you're actually proud of, because you can watch it and be like, oh, this is unique because it has my specific thing that I thought through. Even if you're taking specific motifs from my guide and you're using them, the thing is, you're going to use them differently in the shoot that you're doing. And the chances of you shooting the exact same shoot that I'm doing and using the exact same visual motif is very low. But even still, it's just not going to feel the same. So you put your unique touch on it just by even trying it out. So to recap, the Spike Lee thing is not that hard to do, but there's definitely more details that go into it than you might think. So anytime you're trying to emulate an idea you've seen in a movie, just really think it through and plan it out to make sure you don't miss something. When it comes to doing shoots like this, my example is not the only way to do it. So be creative, think through different solutions to create the shots you're looking for, and really, and most importantly, always look for a visual motif in your shoot. If you can add an element of creativity and just general creative direction to your film, it's going to dramatically change the quality and the perception of that piece of work. And so always look for an opportunity to do that. And if you're interested in more ideas for some visual motifs for your shoot, again, I've got the link in the description below, so check that out. And I'm going to be making more of these shoot breakdowns. So if there's anything that you liked about this one that you want me to repeat for the next couple, let me know. And until next time, let's get out there and make better films. Okay, transparently, this is like a outtake thing, but I've kind of been struggling to get YouTube videos out just because I've got so much work going on outside of YouTube, which is awesome. I'm not complaining about that at all, but it's just kind of like been a thing that I'm just not prioritizing. So if you're seeing this video, it means I did prioritize it, and it means I'm going to start prioritizing it more, because I think I'm going to do a lot of fun projects and I want to talk through those projects. So yeah, that's all I got. Okay.